Hey everybody, today is July 24th, 2023, and today we're going to talk about the price of Bitcoin and whether I think that Bitcoin will continue to go up or whether we're overdue for a pullback. Before we begin, please read the disclaimer. You can pause this video as you read it. Okay, so in my last video, I talked about how we were basically consolidating after a nice impulse move up. However, at the end of the video, I talked about how we had these moving averages here, and I wouldn't be surprised if we saw the price of Bitcoin come down and retest it. And now it seems like that's what it's doing, right? It's been basically very weak. It hasn't been moving. So we had a green impulse move up here after the XRP decision basically said that if XRP sold the token, Ripple tokens to retail investors, that wasn't necessarily considered a security. So we saw a huge pump, but then we also saw a fade. So it's basically a pump and dump. So we've been having a bit of weakness, and we finally broke the support level. So as I said, might happen. If we weren't able to hold and continue higher, we might come down and retest these moving averages. So it seems like we're doing that right now, but things are looking good for at least in the short term, right? Because we are starting to wick higher. We're starting to find support on the 50-day, which is a silver line, right? So as long as we hold this support, I don't really see this as any different from any pullback after an impulse move up, right? Impulse move up here earlier this year, consolidation before another impulse move up, right? And a fake out dump here, right? Fake out dump here. So it's possible we might see this market move sideways, maybe come up and then fake out dump again. Who knows? I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know exactly what the price action is going to be, but I do think that this market is going to take a little bit longer to reach up the highest as previous markets, right? Because in our previous cycle, we saw that after the bear market bottom, we saw a nice impulse move up, and then we went sideways, and then we saw another impulse move up. So we sort of saw like a sprint, and that's what I thought would happen earlier this year, right? If you look at my videos earlier this year, I saw this pattern seemed very similar to this pattern, and I thought we were going to make another move up to 50,000, but then we started fading, and so my thesis changed from following a similar pattern from 2019, 2021 to 2016 to 2017, where it's a more slow, methodical rise, more sustainable, and perhaps even a higher payoff, right? As it becomes more parabolic into 2025, right? But notice here how this market, it took its time to go sideways for several months before an impulse move up, and then it corrected and went sideways again for a couple of months, right? So I think that's what we're going to see in this cycle. I think we're going to take a little bit more time, go sideways for a while, another impulse move up. And this is my last video. I said, can Bitcoin go to 50,000? And that was my thesis, that I think that by the end of this year, it is possible. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I would say it's definitely possible. If we go sideways, coil like a spring, and then push up higher, and we hit either at or just below 50,000 by the end of the year. And then of course we consolidate, and Bitcoin takes its time to move up even higher into the 2025, which is predicted to be if you subscribe to the 4-year cycle, it's predicted to be the next bull market and bull market peak of this 4-year cycle, right? So that's sort of like the long-term view. Now, this week there's an important macro event. There is the Federal Reserve meeting, right? The Federal Reserve meeting affects the stock market, and the stock market affects Bitcoin, right? Because now that we have a lot of institutional investments into crypto space, right? Of course, whatever happens in the stock market is going to affect Bitcoin price. So on Wednesday, the Fed's going to be expected to raise rates by another 25 basis points. Now, if you recall, in the last meeting last month, the Fed actually paused, but they also said that they would consider raising rates if they needed to control inflation. Now, inflation actually has been coming down, and our most recent inflation report, I think it was like 2 weeks ago, it was cooler than expected. And so basically, the market basically rallied, right? So let's look at the stock market, S&P 500, let's look at SPY. So the market has been basically on a tear right now, right? Going higher based on that cooler than expected inflation report 2 weeks ago. So the question is this going to affect Jerome Powell's decision on Wednesday, right? So now, like I said, most people are expecting 25 basis points rise and taking the terminal rate to 5.5%. But there is a possibility, because inflation was cooler than expected, that the Fed might actually pause. Of course, they can also raise rates more than 25 basis points, but I don't think that's likely, right? Unless inflation was like a lot hotter than expected last time, but it wasn't. It was cooler than expected, and we're still seeing the trend towards the 2% inflation rate that the Fed wants, right? So inflation is on track. So I believe that if the Fed does raise rates by 25 basis points, it's probably, I don't think not much is going to change, because I think that's what the market is already pricing in, right? The market is already expecting this. But if the Fed doesn't raise rates by 25 basis points, if they just pause again, I think that's going to cause a rally in the stock market, and subsequently the crypto markets as well, right? So we can see a nice rally. So yeah, for me, I've basically just been, just slowly buying into the market again. I already bought some down here last time, right? And I've been selling more put options on some of the Bitcoin miners, right? I've been selling more put options, trying to get in. And if I don't get those positions, at least I collect some premium, right? Or I do both if it does get exercised, if I do get assigned, right? But anyways, that's options are a different discussion for a different video. That's just my strategy. Again, not saying you have to do that. Do your own due diligence. Follow your own strategy. That's just what I'm doing. So let's move on. So yeah, this was the last update I had on July 13th, right? This was the XRP ruling, and Bitcoin went up higher. But now, of course, like I said, it started to fade a little bit, right? But let's look at other things. The Fear and Greed Index is just barely in greed, so there's definitely a lot of upside. There's still a lot of potential room for the upside, but also to the downside as well. So, like I said, a lot's gonna depend, at least in the short term, on what the Fed does, right? But behind the scenes, right, hash rate is still going well. We're still, close to record highs. We just keep moving higher, regardless of what the price is. So, miners are doing well. Hash rate is doing well. We want this to continue going up higher, right? Because hash rate, when it goes up, the price of Bitcoin usually correlates as well and goes up as well. Let's look at the 2-year multiplier. Still within this oversold zone, right? The green zone is usually historically, this is over like the last 10 years. Historically, when Bitcoin is under this green line in this green shaded zone, it's usually a good time to buy, right? Of course, it's not financial advice. I'm just looking at this as a tool, right? And so we've been in this green zone for the longest time of any cycle, even 2015 cycle, right? 2017 cycle. So this is telling you that this could be a good opportunity to buy, and I'm using that to buy right now. I'm not saying you should buy, of course, do your own research, do your own due diligence, right? And make the trades that are best for your risk tolerance, right? Price cycle top indicator does a good job calling the top, but also it provides a decent prediction of where the bottom is, right? So as you can see, as long as the price stays above this orange line after it crosses, after the bear market bottom, this is still this is considered a bullish uptrend, right? We saw this also in 2019, 2020, and also in 2016 to 2017 bull market, right? As long as we defend the orange line and we're seeing an uptrend, right? Like we're seeing right now, this is considered bullish. And yeah, I personally am buying into this as it continues higher, right? Averaging up, right? You don't want to average down, you want to average up, right? Golden ratio multiplier, seeing something similar, right? We are in this we're above the lowest span, the gold line. And usually when we break above and we're able to hold above this level, like we're not breaking back below, right? We're holding the level. And we want to see the price go up different bands as it goes higher, right? And every time we're able to hold this level and not break below, that's usually a bullish sign, right? Rainbow indicator, showing that perhaps we have bottomed and that we are continuing this bullish uptrend. And we, again, just like we saw in the golden ratio multiplier, we want to see it go up different color bands. That's a bullish sign, right? Last thing I want to look at is price forecast tool, right? Again, this looks very similar to a bottoming process and the bullish continuation off the bottom, right? So, of course, nothing is guaranteed. We don't know for sure if Bitcoin has 100% bottom, but personally, I think Bitcoin has bottom, and I think that this is the start of the new uptrend, the new bull market cycle as we head into 2024, halving cycle, right? The halving in spring of 2024. And of course, what I believe to be the bull market apex, the peak in late 2025. But yeah. So in the short term, I do think that the price of Bitcoin is going to depend on the Fed, right? The Fed hikes rates more than 25 basis points, we'll probably see a crash in the market, which will probably bring down the price of Bitcoin, right? If that were to happen, we want to see the 200-day level to be defended. That's like a very strong level of support, which was defended during the regional bank crisis back in March, right? But my expectation is that they're either going to raise by 25 basis points or they're going to pause rates, which is either going to make the market, in my opinion, continue sideways or to push up higher, right? In the long term, I do think, again, just to summarize, that the price of Bitcoin is going to move like we saw in 2016 and 17, where we're taking a much more methodical, slower, more sustainable, in my opinion, move to the upside rather than taking these short sprints like we saw in the last bull market, right? And I think that it's also a better market for most participants because they're able to dollar cost average and size in slowly over time, right? People get their paychecks, they want to be able to buy. They don't want to buy when this thing's like just ripping up like we saw in 2019, right? It just sprints upward, right? So I think that this is a healthier market this time around. And yeah, I'm very excited to see how this plays out and if it's going to play out along our predicted 4-year cycle. with the halving coming up spring of next year, and yeah. So yeah, again, we definitely want to see the 50-day be defended, these moving averages, and we want to see the price defend this level, right? This Fibonacci level. But yeah, Wednesday we'll definitely come out with the update on Thursday. Please follow me on Twitter, EddieLux_, and I'll definitely post a chart on Thursday to see what the Fed decision is and how that affects the market. And next week we'll talk about, we'll put a video out next time, and we'll see how the price of Bitcoin changes according to that decision. So thank you for watching this video. If you found it helpful, useful, or informative, please like this video, leave a comment below, and subscribe for updates. I appreciate all your support. Thank you again, and have a great day.